Good morning, everyone. This is Corey Strothman, Grace in Your Corner. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about an article that my mother wrote earlier this week, and it was on the lost art of communication. If you haven't read that yet, go check it out. There's a lot of great points in there. Today, I want to clarify a little bit more and give some of my opinion in there as well. So, let's go ahead and get started. Why is it important to truly understand how to effectively communicate? And that's throughout the entire facet of life. It's not just when we're talking about mental illness or someone with addiction. It's a lifelong skill to know how to be able to communicate. Specifically, though, when you're talking about communicating with someone that is struggling with a mental illness or is struggling with addiction, it's important that you follow these aspects of it because they need to understand how much you are invested in them as a person, how much you truly care about what they are saying, and how much you want to be a part of their recovery. And if we fall back on some of these and we fall back into major traps of conversation in society, then the message that we end up sending is, you know what you're saying is really important, but not as important as the text message I just got on my phone, or not as important as the time frame that I have to give to you today. And then that self-doubt can really come back on the person who's already struggling. So it's imperative that we give and we fully commit ourselves to be an active participation and an active listener when we are in conversation. And that goes throughout life as well. As I make my journey into a real estate agent, I'm going to be practicing these types of communication to make sure that the person I am talking to fully understands how much I care, and there's no one that I'd rather be talking to at that moment than them. So let's get into some of the ways that we can do that. And I'll start by reminding you of some of my mom's main points and then add a few of my own that I think will truly help you become a better active listener when involved in a conversation. But let's start with the Stephen Covey quote that my mom referenced in her article, and it is an outstanding quote. Essentially, it says, we must seek first to understand, but often in society, the problem is we're listening to reply. And when we listen to reply, then truly we aren't understanding or hearing what the other person is saying. We're more concerned about how we come across. And that is a very selfish way to have a conversation. It often leads to people interrupting. But that's how we are in society. We're so go, 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 go. And I read a stat that the human usually speaks at 250 words per minute, but the human brain can comprehend up to 500 words per minute. So that's giving us some free time to think about other things. And if we don't truly focus on it, that's where we can fall off the beaten path of the conversation. So listening to understand. And it's okay. That means it's okay if you wait until they are completely done with the conversation or their statement, and it takes a little bit of time to generate your response. Silence can be an okay thing in a conversation. It doesn't have to be go, 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 back and forth. Okay, you can take breaks, you can take pauses to have a meaningful conversation. Just a reminder, let's rephrase some of the things my mother said. She had talked about concentrate on what the person is saying, and you can concentrate on what the person is saying by truly listening. Okay, if I'm looking at someone when I'm saying something and their eyes are down on their phone or their eyes are around on what's going on around them, it might be that they're listening, it might not. I'm not 100% sure. So let them know that you're actively listening by your gestures. She also said silence was okay. We just talked about that. She said try not to interrupt unless you need clarification, and that's a great point. It can become very frustrating when you interrupt when someone has a thought going or they were leading to somewhere they wanted to get to and they're being stopped and talked over. So be very careful not to interrupt unless you need some clarifying question on that. 4 was, I think it's okay to let a person know you understand because of similar experiences. And that is a great point. I want to clarify this a little bit though. When working with someone that's dealing with a mental illness or someone that's working with addiction, be careful when you're relating to similar experiences not to go there too quickly. Okay, I'll repeat that one more time. Don't instantly jump straight to, well, I've had that experience too, or here's how I've had it. Make sure you give that person the full opportunity to tell their story, to let you know their thoughts, their feelings, because they're telling this to help them. They're not telling this to get your response right away that you've done it too. Okay, so yes, I do think it can be beneficial for them to know you do have a connection with that, but if you jump to that right away and you don't validate what that person is saying, then it's going to actually backfire a little bit more, and that person's thoughts are going to start to be, well, they think they know it all already. Well, you know what? They're not truly understanding because their situation isn't exactly like mine. So be careful on that one when you're incorporating your own experiences. And the last thing she said was listening with your eyes. So I want to add a few more to those just to make sure. I kind of touched upon the first one, and this is one that I continue to work on, and as a principal, guilty as charged. I did it. Multitasking when in conversations. We need to make sure that we are truly giving all of our listening efforts to the person in front of us. So if you have an iPhone or if you're on your computer, it's probably easier to put it away, to shut your computer, and to truly engage with that person. And if you don't have enough time for that entire conversation, then be honest with them and say, you know what? I would love to carry this conversation on further, but if we did, I don't think that I would be fair to you and give you my full commitment and be 100% in the conversation. So can we pick up on this tomorrow when I do have the time to fully commit and give you the attention you deserve? And be honest, because what we don't want is you half in a conversation and half out. So that's something to continue to work on, and I admittingly so, work on that myself. Another thing is when you're in a conversation, always assume that you have something to learn from that conversation. If you go into a conversation thinking that you've already mastered a concept or a topic, or there's nothing this person can add to you, that is an extremely closed-minded approach, and that will lead to you giving off body gestures that you don't even realize you are, seeming uninterested in the conversation. That will come with you responding very quickly and not validating what the other person is saying. When you come in with the approach that you can always take something away, you're more actively engaged, you're listening, you're trying to comprehend, you're trying to analyze what that person is saying, and we don't know it all. If we think we know it all, we have something else coming. So always come into a conversation thinking, I can learn something from this. Another thing, and this is specifically with talking to someone that's depressed too, is when you're asking questions, make sure you're phrasing questions in an open-ended style. Because when I was depressed, if you were asking me a question and you gave me the opportunity to just say yes or no, that's the answer you're going to get. You're going to get yes or you're going to get no. But if you can phrase the question to where they have the opportunity to have to explain, that can give you more information, number one, and it can get them to start to give their opinion and feel valued in what they're saying and feel heard. And that goes with all questions that you provide in any conversation, is try to provide those open-ended because they're the ones that understand the best. A yes or no doesn't truly give us their opinion or their value, but if we give them the opportunity to really paint the entire picture instead of having the question pigeonhole it into a certain response, then that'll be beneficial for all parties. So more open-ended questions and then truly listen to what they're saying. And the last one is one that it kind of sums up everything, and it's listen. Listen, listen, listen. Like Stephen Covey says, don't listen to reply. And that's hard for people, because what that means, if we go in to truly try to just listen, we're letting go of control of the conversation. When we talk the most, when we interrupt, when we're the ones thinking to reply, we feel like we're controlling that conversation, and that makes a sense of comfort for us. It makes it easier because we know where the conversation is going or what we're going to say. Be vulnerable enough to listen and know when that person gets done talking that they might have said something that's very difficult for you to understand or very difficult for you to have a response. And it's okay to have that silence. It's okay to say, wow, that is something I haven't truly ever thought about. I might need a minute to wrap my mind around that, to think about what that truly means, to process it. But listening and letting go of control can open up to more vulnerable conversations. It can seem maybe more awkward at times, but it is truly providing more in-depth, more opportunity to have people in conversations feel valued. So let go of control. Never forget that you have one mouth and two ears. Two ears because you have more ears because you're supposed to listen more than you are to talk. Okay, if you're always dominating a conversation, take a step back and think about, am I truly giving that person the opportunity to voice their opinion, or am I always dominating that conversation? But I feel that if you bring all of these points, my mom's blog and the ones that I've just covered with you today, you're going to start finding yourself have more meaningful conversation. You're going to find yourself doing more listening to understand, being an active listener, than always thinking about what the best response would be to keep the conversation going. Because a conversation that has breaks and pauses in it and might seem awkward, but there's true listening going on, is much more powerful than one that goes, someone is constantly talking, but really what we're doing is your turn to talk, my turn to talk, your turn to talk, my turn to talk. Just because it has that format doesn't mean it's a valuable conversation that people can truly feel valued in. And that's important because we want people to know we love them. We want to hear what they have to say. We chose to have this conversation with you. If we didn't want to have it, we wouldn't be here. Quite simple as that. So really work on those as you go forward. Continue to evolve in the art of communication. And I think you'll see that positive benefits come from that. Have a great day, graceinyourcorner.com, and I hope everyone's doing well. Take care.